I'm delighted you could join us. My name is Donalee Moulton. I'm a professional writer based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where right now the sun is not shining and storm clouds are gathering, but that only happens once a year. We're talking titles, not king, queen, and my personal favorite, goddess, but the titles that alert readers to what is about to unfold before their eyes. I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about myself and my experience with titles. I'm a freelance journalist, and I've written hundreds, and truth be told, thousands of articles for print and online publications across North America and beyond. One of the things you soon learn as a freelance reporter is that editors write the titles of articles. That's not always the case, but it is usually the case. There are a number of reasons for this, and we'll discuss those in a minute. First, I'd like to share with you the options article writers have when it comes to titles. One, you can come up with a title that you think reflects the article. You think it's clever or straightforward or funny, whatever attribute you think will appeal to readers. If the editor likes it, they may use it. If they don't, they will write their own, and more often than not, they will write their own. Years ago, I did an article on a trademark dispute involving the use of the word Blue Nose, Nova Scotia's famous schooner. My title went something like this: Ship Disturbing Trademark Battle Erupts in Nova Scotia. I thought that was very clever. My editor did not. Well, she actually may have, but the title she ultimately used went something like this: Nova Scotia businesses barred from using Blue Nose name. More straightforward, more upfront about what readers were going to actually learn. Now, on the other hand, I once wrote an article on champagne and I called it Liquid Bling. I thought I was taking a risk, again, but I thought it was clever, and my editor loved the title. In fact, she wrote to say she loved the title. So my feeling is that it never hurts to suggest a title, and no one usually knows the story as well as the writer. But good titles do take time to craft, and on many occasions, the articles I submitted did not have a title. They had what we call a descriptor: Profile of Donald Duck, article on the pros and cons of ducks vaping, conference report from Ducks Unlimited. I was leaving the actual craft of the title to the editor, and the choice is yours. If you're going to craft an article title, though, you really want to know what editors want, and they're looking for 4 things. First, something that grabs the reader's attention. Second, something that describes in some way what the article is about. Third, something that is not longer than the first paragraph of the article itself. And 4, something that makes them want to read the article or shows them why they should. Are you likely to get all of this in one title? Probably not. But that is what lies behind the words that introduce an article. And often those words are more dramatic or more urgent or more intense or more gripping than the article itself. Indeed, most of the time that someone objected to an article that I wrote, it was the title that set them off, and I hadn't even written it. Now, unlike article titles, book titles are usually the domain of the writer. And this may be because the writer has a closer connection to the topic. The editor wants the writer to do the work. The writer and the editor see it as the author's prerogative. But just because the book writer usually develops the title doesn't mean the editor will accept it. They will tell you if they don't like it and why, and they will tell you if it won't work and why. So let's look at what constitutes, usually, a good book title, and then I'll use my 2 most recent books as examples. The things you don't expect. Because book titles are one of the first things a potential reader sees, they need to hook the reader. So it's recommended that the title give away a little something about the plot and also a little something about the nature of your book itself. Is it going to be action-packed, romantic, whimsical? Here are the three main ingredients in a strong book title. Length. Shorter is better. Shorter tends to be more memorable and more powerful. Some experts advocate for the one-word title, but one-word titles are more limiting for search engines. The technology doesn't like them quite as well as it does longer titles. Fewer examples will be found when readers go looking for the topic. So the recommendation, 3 or 4 words. Ingredient number 2, impact. The title should draw the reader in because it is evocative. It speaks to what lies within the pages of the book. It sets the stage for what readers can expect. And ingredient number 3, uniqueness. So titles that we can remember, titles that stand out from the crowd, are titles that are winning titles. Of course, that's not easy to do. And your uniqueness may be a play on words, a pun, a jab, a literary reference, a phrase that speaks to mind, heart, and spirit. The choice is yours. In short, titles are essential to the sale of your book, and they are not easy. So now what I'd like to do is bring up 2 images of 2 titles that I'm very familiar with. The first is the Thong Principle. Now, from the moment I started writing this book, I knew it would be called the Thong Principle. I also knew it could not only be called the Thong Principle. If I called it just that, potential readers would have no idea what the book was about. It could be porn. It could be about the fashion industry. It could be about flip-flops. Now, once someone's read the book, they'll know what the Thong Principle is and why it matters. Before then, however, readers need to be guided. And that's where a subhead comes in. It's a device that's commonly used in nonfiction books. In my case, the subhead says, saying what you mean and meaning what you say. So readers know this is a book about communication, not beachwear. An important distinction. So my newest book is Hung Out to Die. It is not a nonfiction book. It is a murder mystery. And the main character is CEO of a cannabis production company in Elmsdale, Nova Scotia. And I'll give you a little look at what the cover of the book looks like. So as I was writing this book, things happen to you as a writer that you don't expect. And a funny aside started to take place involving a word that the main character had never heard before. That word, chunderfuck. In my mind, that became the title of the book, with asterisks replacing 2 of the letters in the last syllable. I then built on this concept, as mystery series often do. I thought future books would have a similar fun but profane title. So there would be numbnuts, dickwad, arse, right? It was not meant to be. As I was starting to shop around my book, I realized that my title, my chunderfuck, might lead agents and publishers to conclude that the book would be darker, edgier, grittier than it actually was. Indeed, the book is quite funny, and I didn't want to turn publishers off before they even read the first page. So I went with what we call a working title. My working title? So, a psychopath walked into a bar. But in my mind, the book would still be called Chunderfuck, and I would negotiate that as soon as I had a publisher. And soon I did. BWL in Alberta. Wonderful group. And they were more than open to changing the title, but not changing it to Chunderfuck. And not for the reason you might think. It seems that search engines do not pick up asterisks. Damn it. So the book is called Hung Out to Die. It's a play on words. Drying plants is linked to the cannabis industry. and the victim in this case dies by hanging. In short, it's got some oomph. But let's face it, it's no chunder. And that is one of the things we have to learn about titles. Sometimes we get the title we want, sometimes we compromise, and sometimes we listen to the advice of others. This actually brings us to the end of our time together, and I wanted to thank you for joining me. I'm Donalee Moulton, and I'm delighted to have spent this time with you. I feel downright entitled. I simply couldn't resist. Take care.